The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was a marvel of architectural brilliance, a dome of shimmering crystalline panels that reflected the light of 100 alien suns. Each representative sat in their unique podiums, custom designed to accommodate the physiology of their species, creating an awe-inspiring collage of diversity. Yet, the hall had never been as silent as it was now. At the center of the chamber stood Elliot Vance, the human delegate. His tall frame was casual yet commanding, his demeanor a curious mix of confidence and sincerity. His question had shattered the solemnity of the room like a comet striking a planet. "Do you mind if I pet your dragon?" The question, directed at Counselor Lazirin of the Vysskar Dominion, sent ripples of disbelief across the assembly. The Vysskar, a proud reptilian species with opalescent scales and a rigid hierarchy, had brought their apex predator, a Vysskar, a dragon-like creature legendary for its predatory prowess and unyielding ferocity. The creature, named Karax, was perched beside Lazirin's podium. Its scales glinted in shades of obsidian and gold, and its eyes, glowing like twin embers, fixed unblinkingly on Elliot. A low growl rumbled from its chest, sending shivers through even the hardiest of species present. Lazirin's slitted eyes narrowed, his voice a harsh rasp. "Human, you insult us. A Vysskar is no mere companion to be petted. It is a sovereign being, a hunter without equal, and the embodiment of Vysskar might." Elliot raised his hands in mock surrender. "No offense intended, Counselor. I'm just curious. Humanity has a saying. To understand another being, you have to meet it at its level. Maybe this is a chance for a little understanding." The murmurs among the council members grew louder. The audacity of the human was astonishing. Lazirin's scales shimmered with irritation, but behind his disdain there was something else: intrigue. The Vysskar was untouchable. None, not even Vysskar themselves, had dared approach one without its master's explicit command. "You seek understanding, human?" Lazirin hissed, his voice laden with challenge. "Very well. Approach, but know this. If Karax deems you unworthy, it will be the last act of your short life." The room tensed. Some species leaned forward, anticipating disaster. Others prepared to intervene, knowing the risk. Elliot simply smiled, his calm demeanor betraying no fear. He approached Karax slowly, his movements deliberate. The Vyskar's growl deepened, the sound vibrating through the chamber like a drumbeat of impending doom. Its wings twitched, claws flexing against the polished floor. Elliot stopped a few feet away, crouching slightly to meet Karax's fiery gaze. "Hey there, big guy," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you, just want to see if we can be friends." The growl ceased abruptly. The entire room held its collective breath as Karax tilted its head, studying the human. Elliot extended a hand, palm open, his movement steady and unthreatening. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, to the astonishment of all, Karax lowered its massive head. Elliot's hand brushed against the Vyskar's scales, and he began to stroke it gently. The creature's body relaxed, its eyes half closing in what could only be described as contentment. A deep, resonant purr rumbled from its throat. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Lazirin's scales rippled with colors of disbelief and reluctant admiration. "Impossible," he muttered. "No one has ever tamed a Vysskar." Elliot grinned, continuing to pet Karax. "Tame? Nah. I don't think Karax here needs taming. Just a little trust." Counselor Therian, a crystalline being from the Arcan Syndicate, spoke up, his voice chiming like a bell. "Human Elliot, this act defies reason. How is this possible?" Elliot stood, his hand still resting on Karax's neck. "Humans are different. We might not have the strongest claws or the toughest armor, but we have a knack for building connections. Call it empathy or curiosity, but it's what makes us who we are." Lazirin stepped closer, his imposing frame towering over Elliot. "You have achieved what none in my species ever have. This bond is unprecedented. Perhaps the Council has underestimated humanity." Karax nuzzled Elliot's shoulder, prompting a soft laugh from the human. "I think Karax and I just became friends. Isn't that right, buddy?" The Vysskar let out a low, approving growl, sending another wave of disbelief through the assembly. Counselor Lazirin raised a hand, silencing the growing clamor. This moment will be remembered, not just for its improbability, but for its implications. If humanity can connect with a Vysskar, what else might they accomplish? Elliot turned to the assembled council, his expression earnest. "That's the point. We're not here to dominate or divide. We're here to understand and cooperate. Today it's Karax and me, tomorrow, who knows what bonds we can forge." As the murmurs gave way to thoughtful silence, Lazirin stepped forward, placing a clawed hand on Elliot's shoulder. "Human Elliot, you have given the council much to consider. Perhaps there is more to your species than we believed." Elliot nodded. "I'd say there's more to all of us than we know." The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with renewed energy in the wake of Elliot's unprecedented bond with Karax. Representatives from countless species leaned into hushed conversations, the implications of the humans' actions spreading like wildfire. In the center of it all, Counselor Lazirin stood beside Elliot and Karax, his imposing form towering but strangely humbled. "This cannot be a mere anomaly," Lazirin declared, addressing the assembly. "If humanity's capacity for forging such a bond is genuine, then it must be tested. The Council must know if this connection can be replicated, or if Elliot Vance is simply an aberration." A crystalline being with shimmering facets, Counselor Therian chimed in, his voice melodic yet firm. "Agreed. Let us propose a series of trials to evaluate this bond's depth and the broader potential for humanity's empathy." Elliot, standing tall beside Karax, shrugged with a casual confidence that belied the gravity of the moment. "Bring it on. Karax and I are ready for anything." The council convened in private chambers, debating the structure of the trials. Hours later, the verdict was delivered. Elliot and Karax would face 3 tests, each designed to assess the strength of their bond and its implications for interspecies collaboration. The first trial was set for the following day. Trial 1, the Gauntlet of Unity. The first test took place in a sprawling simulation chamber designed to mimic a dense, hostile jungle. The holographic environment felt unnervingly real, with towering alien flora, unpredictable weather patterns, and roaming predators designed to challenge even the most experienced survivalists. Elliot and Karax were tasked with reaching a central beacon while avoiding traps, natural hazards, and simulated attackers. The other council members observed from an elevated control room, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The jungle's air was thick with moisture, and the cacophony of alien wildlife created an oppressive atmosphere. Elliot adjusted his gear and glanced at Karax, whose keen eyes scanned the horizon. "All right, buddy," Elliot said. "Let's show them what we've got." The two moved as a team, Karax's heightened senses guiding them through the tangled underbrush. At one point, a simulated predator, a massive fanged beast with luminescent eyes, leapt from the shadows. Elliot dove to the side, drawing a compact stun weapon, but Karax moved faster. With a snarl, the Vysskar lunged at the creature, pinning it to the ground with its powerful claws. "Good work, Karax," Elliot called out as the beast dissolved into holographic particles. As they pressed forward, they encountered a treacherous river crossing, its waters swirling with simulated hazards. Elliot hesitated, assessing the unstable bridge spanning the torrent. Karax, however, extended a wing, motioning for Elliot to climb on. "You sure about this?" Elliot asked, grinning despite himself. Karax growled softly, the gesture unmistakable. Elliot clambered onto the Vysskar's back, gripping tightly as the dragon-like creature leapt and soared across the river. They landed with grace, drawing an audible gasp from the observing council members. Counselor Therian leaned closer to the display, his crystalline facets glinting. Their synchronization is extraordinary. It is as though they anticipate each other's needs. Minutes later, Elliot and Karax reached the beacon, their combined efforts having navigated the dense jungle and its challenges with remarkable efficiency. The chamber dissolved back into its metallic walls, and the pair stood before the council as the members murmured among themselves. Counselor Lazarin rose, his gaze intense. "You have passed the first trial, human, but greater challenges lie ahead. Trial 2. Communication in Crisis." The second trial tested communication. Elliot and Karax were placed in an expansive maze of shifting walls, lit sporadically by faint, flickering lights. The catch: Elliot could only rely on Karax to guide him, as the human was blindfolded. The Vysskar nudged Elliot gently, steering him toward the maze's entrance. "I trust you, Karax," Elliot said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty. The maze shifted unpredictably, walls sliding into new configurations with mechanical groans. Karax clicked and growled, each sound precise and deliberate. Elliot listened intently, using his companion's vocal cues to navigate. When Karax let out a sharp growl, Elliot stopped abruptly, narrowly avoiding a sudden drop in the floor. Above, the council members watched in stunned silence. Counselor Therian broke it. "This level of understanding is unprecedented. The Vysskar appears to be adapting its communication to suit the human." Step by step, the pair advanced. Elliot's trust in Karax never faltered, and Karax's guidance grew more nuanced. Finally, after an agonizing hour, they reached the maze's exit. The council chamber erupted in applause, the once skeptical members now visibly impressed. Trial 3. The Desert Crucible. The final trial was the most daunting. Elliot and Karax were dropped into the scorching deserts of Varathos, a barren simulation designed to test endurance and survival. Supplies were limited, and the extraction point was miles away, hidden amidst shifting dunes. The heat was oppressive, and the sun blazed mercilessly. Elliot shielded his eyes as he trudged through the sand beside Karax, who remained vigilant. "We need water," Elliot said, scanning the horizon. Karax let out a sharp call, leading Elliot toward a hidden oasis. There, they found a small pool, surrounded by simulated vegetation. Elliot knelt to drink, patting Karax on the neck. "Good instincts, buddy." As night fell, the desert grew cold and dangerous. Simulated creatures emerged from the shadows, their glowing eyes and sharp claws reflecting the harsh environment. Elliot and Karax worked in perfect unison, fending off attacks and conserving energy as they pressed on. After 2 grueling days, the pair finally reached the extraction point. The council awaited them, their expressions a mix of awe and respect. Counselor Lazarin stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of the moment. "Human Elliot and Karax, you have exceeded all expectations. Your bond is a testament to what can be achieved through trust and understanding." Elliot smiled, placing a hand on Karax's neck. "We're just getting started." The Galactic Council's chamber buzzed with energy as Elliot and Karax stood at the center of the gathering. The completion of the trials had transformed skepticism into awe. Representatives from countless species leaned forward, their gazes fixed on the human and the Vysskar who had proven an unprecedented bond. Counselor Lazarin's voice rang out, steady and commanding. "The trials have revealed more than just a bond between human and Vysskar. They have shown us the potential for a new era, an era where our differences no longer divide us but bring us together." Elliot, weary but composed, stepped forward. "This wasn't just about Karax and me. It was about what we can all achieve when we trust, when we collaborate. These trials showed us that our strength doesn't come from dominance, but from understanding." The chamber erupted into murmurs of agreement, but not all were convinced. Counselor Dravik, a towering insectoid representative from the Entheran hive mind, rose, his mandibles clicking in skepticism. "This bond is extraordinary, yes, but it is one anomaly, not a guarantee of greater cooperation. How can we be sure this isn't just human luck?" The room quieted as eyes turned to Elliot. He met Dravik's gaze without flinching. "Luck didn't help Karax and me survive the desert, navigate the maze, or outwit predators. It was trust, and trust isn't unique to humans or Vysskar. It's something we can all build." Dravik tilted his head, considering, while Lazarin stepped forward. "Human Elliot, your actions have challenged our perceptions, but Dravik raises a valid question. How do we take this extraordinary example and turn it into something universal?" Elliot smiled. "We start small. Let me and Karax lead the way. Let us work with representatives from your species and others. Together we can create something bigger than ourselves." The first bonding initiative. The council deliberated for hours before reaching a consensus. They would launch the Intergalactic Bonding Initiative, a program designed to replicate Elliot and Karax's success across species. Elliot was unanimously appointed its director, with Karax serving as its symbol and guide. Their first mission took them to Vornis 9, a volatile volcanic planet home to the Drakari, a reptilian species with a deep mistrust of outsiders. The Drakari's apex predators, the Emberwings, were considered untamable, fierce creatures with molten scales and fiery breath. Elliot and Karax were met with suspicion upon arrival. Chieftain Ravorn, the Drakari leader, crossed his arms, his molten gold eyes narrowing as he addressed Elliot. "You claim to bond with beasts, human. Show us. Tame an Emberwing, and you will have our respect." The task was daunting, even for Elliot. The Emberwings were larger than Karax, their aggression legendary. But he accepted without hesitation, knowing the stakes. Accompanied by Karax and Drakari observers, Elliot ventured into the volcanic wilderness. Trial by fire. The air shimmered with heat as Elliot and Karax approached an Emberwing nest perched on a jagged outcrop. The creature roared a warning, its fiery breath scorching the rocks around it. Elliot took a step forward, his movements deliberate. "Easy," he murmured, his voice steady. "We're not here to hurt you." Karax mirrored his calm, letting out a soft rumble that seemed to resonate with the Emberwing. The massive creature paused, its molten eyes locking onto Elliot. Step by step, he closed the distance, extending a hand as he had with Karax. The Emberwing snarled, flames flickering from its maw. For a moment, it seemed as though the creature would strike, but then it sniffed at Elliot's outstretched hand. Karax let out another soothing rumble and the Emberwing's stance softened. When Elliot's hand finally met the creature's scales, a collective gasp arose from the Drakari observers. Chieftain Ravern, watching from a safe distance, muttered, "Impossible." Elliot spent hours with the Emberwing, building trust as he had with Karax. By the time he returned to the Drakari village, the once feral creature walked beside him, its fiery presence tempered by a newfound bond. The success on Vornis 9 was only the beginning. News of Elliot's accomplishment spread rapidly across the galaxy, sparking hope and curiosity. Species once isolated by fear and mistrust began to see the potential for unity. The Intergalactic Bonding Initiative expanded rapidly. On each planet they visited, Elliot and Karax worked to foster new bonds between species and their native creatures. From the crystalline moon. Within days, reports flooded in from the galactic frontier. Tovak fleets were mobilizing, their advanced warships spreading fear as they pushed toward neutral territories. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, and all eyes turned to Elliot. "Human Elliot," Counselor Laziran began, "you have proven the power of trust. Can it stand against the Tovak's challenge?" Elliot's expression was resolute. The Tovak aren't immune to trust. They're isolated, and their isolation fuels their aggression. If we can show them the strength of unity, even they might reconsider. Counselor Dravik clicked his mandibles in doubt. And if they refuse? Their technology surpasses even our most advanced defenses. Elliot nodded grimly. Then we show them our resilience. Karax and I will lead the initiative's representatives to the Tovak border. We'll give them one chance to see what trust can achieve. The EHS Unity, a flagship of the Bonding Initiative, set course for the Tovak Imperium. On board were representatives from every participating species, their bonds with native creatures a testament to the initiative's success. Karax paced restlessly beside Elliot as the ship neared Tovak space. "Think they'll listen?" Elliot murmured, scratching Karax's neck. The Vysskar rumbled, a sound that Elliot interpreted as cautious optimism. As the Unity entered Tovak territory, an armada of sleek, menacing warships surrounded it. General Kylaris's voice echoed through the ship's comms. "You dare to approach the Imperium? Prepare to be annihilated." Elliot stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "General Kylaris, "We're not here to fight. We're here to show you what strength really looks like." The Tovak fleet did not fire, but instead escorted the Unity to a barren moon where Karax awaited. The general, towering and angular with mechanical limbs glinting in the weak sunlight, loomed over the delegation. "You waste our time," Karax growled. "Demonstrate your so-called strength or leave." Elliot gestured for the other representatives to step forward. Each brought forth their bonded creature, a crystalline lunaris that refracted light into dazzling displays, a massive thorn beast from Vornus 9, and even a pair of Idris hatchlings with their guardian. Karax stood proudly at Elliot's side, his fiery gaze meeting Karax's unflinching stare. "This," Elliot began, "is strength. It's not about weapons or fear. It's about trust, understanding, and cooperation. These bonds are forged through effort and mutual respect, things no machine can replicate." Karax's mechanical eyes scanned the creatures and their handlers, his expression unreadable. "Parlor tricks," he spat. "Show me something real." Elliot stepped closer. "Karax, show him." The Vysskar spread its wings, releasing a powerful roar that reverberated across the barren landscape. The other creatures joined in, their unified voices creating a symphony of defiance and strength. The ground trembled under the combined energy, a display of cooperation unmatched by any singular force. For a moment, Karax hesitated, the cacophony resonating even with his biomechanical systems. The silence that followed was deafening. Karax finally spoke, his voice low. "You believe this unity can match the Imperium's might?" "It already has," Elliot replied. "If your strength is as absolute as you claim, why hesitate to test it against ours? Because deep down, strength alone isn't enough." The general's mechanical limbs twitched, his internal conflict evident. Finally, he raised a hand, signaling his fleet to stand down. "You have made your point, human. The Tovak Imperium will not join your initiative, but we will observe." Elliot nodded, satisfied. "That's all we ask. Watch, and you'll see." As the Unity returned to the Galactic Council, news of the encounter spread quickly. The Tovak Imperium's decision to halt their aggression was celebrated as a victory for the initiative. The galaxy had taken another step toward unity, and Elliot's leadership was hailed as instrumental. Years later, Elliot and Karax stood before the Galactic Council once more, now joined by representatives from even more species. The initiative had become a cornerstone of intergalactic cooperation, its bonds a living testament to what could be achieved through trust. As Elliot looked around the chamber, he saw a galaxy transformed, a place where differences were celebrated, not feared. He glanced at Karax, who rumbled softly beside him. "We did it, buddy," Elliot said, his voice filled with pride. "We showed them what unity really means." And as the galaxy continued to evolve, the bond between a human and a Vysskar remained its brightest symbol of hope.